All right. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for joining us in. It's 7:30 Eastern. It's 6:30 Central. I definitely appreciate you guys joining in today. I have a wonderful young lady, Stacy. She's gonna talk a little bit about her debt-free journey. Tell us about the things that she went through. Before we get jumped in, I definitely want to tell you all appreciate every 13 plus hundred of you in this group now. Appreciate the questions you're asking. Appreciate you coming, seeking the knowledge, trying to get understanding. But most importantly, getting what you need to help yourself grow and do better. The whole point of the group is to provide you with the information, meet you where you are. If you're watching this on YouTube, take a moment, like the video, subscribe. If you haven't already, join the Money Talks group on Facebook. Obviously, we'll let you know how to connect with Stacy as well because she's a marvelous person, has a lot of things going, and I know this is going to be awesome. So I know you guys like to hear me talk, but you did come for me because the story when I posted her that she was gonna talk it was one of my highest viewed stories. So you're clearly not here for me. So no, I appreciate you joining. So Stacy, kind of walk us through how much debt did you pay off? How long did it take? What kind of debt was it? Kind of tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Well, I want to start and just say thank you. I appreciate you having me. Thanks for reaching out. I'm very excited to be on and happy to share my journey and any tips that I can share to help with finances. I started my financial journey about 30 months ago. I was in debt. So I had, um, outside of my mortgage, I had student loans of almost 30 grand, a car loan floating out there, credit card debt. I owed a lot of people. So I was kind of fed up. I had a lot of people that told me about Dave Ramsey straight out of college. I ignored them. I was like, that's not for me, or not yet. And I kept getting in that situation until I finally caved and was like, okay, I'm going to sit down, take the class at church, start thinking about finances. And at the time, I lost my job.
Oh wow.
But I had an emergency fund. So the class was, I think it was 8 weeks. I can't remember, 8 or 9 weeks. And I had $1,000 emergency fund. I sold everything like crazy in my house. I cut back. I cut cable. And I'm glad I had it because I got, severance. I got unemployment, and I had a little nest egg until I could kind of bounce back. And it taught me that you have to be prepared financially and get get rid of the debt.
Mhm.
So I started hustling. I'm a stylist and a blogger, so I started styling as many friends and family as I possibly could. I got a second job. I got a full time job, and then I got a second job where I was working as a stylist with Stitch Fix. I tried to bump as many hours as I possibly could there, part time, and just hustled. I talked to my boss at the time and was like, look, what can I do to fast track to get more money? What's early promotion look like for me? Am I on track? What do I need to do? I need to make some money. And she had the same values, background. She had been through Dave Ramsey's financial piece, so she knew how hungry I was.
Mhm.
She helped me. I stayed in that job 20 months. I took her job once she left, which is
Wow.
great. And then before I came on to the company I was with, I was a temp, and I loved the company. It's in tech. I wanted to go back. They didn't have a full time job for me at the time, so I just stayed in contact. They reached out and they were like, "Hey, we finally have a role for you. Can you come back?"
Mm.
When I came back, it was a 20% increase.
Oh wow.
And so I got through the door, hustled, scrambled. First 6 months, I got promoted early, and I started making some real money where I was able to really tackle my debt. And in the past 24 months, that was when I really saw the debt like really knock out. So
Mm.
I had to hustle, I had to sacrifice, I had to tell friends and family no, I couldn't go on trips. Uh, Regardless of what you see behind me, I wasn't shopping. I was cutting back on my shopping expenses, and just knocking it out, living on way less than I made and throwing as much cash as I could to getting out of debt. I had to make the tough decision with COVID. Hey, I'm going to keep the cash in savings, or I'm going to pay off my student loan, which at the time was, I think, my balance was 19,000.
Wow.
And I had some money in savings, probably like $5,000. And I kept saying, Stacy, you're going to pay it off. You're going to wait. And I talked to everybody I knew at work. I'm like, what's going on with work? Like, are we going to be here? Are we going to have a job? If I pay this off, which I really want to do because my goal was this year to pay off my student loan, I need to know that I still have a job.
Right.
So what I did is I just kept a month of emergency fund in the bank, and I paid off my student loan. And it was a game changer. It gave me incentive. It pushed me. If I can do it on my own as a single person, anybody can do it. And I had a total, to answer your question, I had $39,982 worth of debt. It's almost $40,000.
Right.
I had to call, communicate with people and say, look, I couldn't pay you initially. I took advantage of every forbearance they had with COVID. And then I decided to pay off my student loan, which was the chunk of my debt.
Right.
It truly has been a blessing. I sleep better.
Yeah.
I don't stress. I know when I go somewhere, I'm not penny pitching or thinking, am I going to get gas or groceries, which we've all been there before.
Right.
If we haven't, as my mama says, just keep living.
Right.
But I don't stress about that. I keep money in my house for emergencies. Can't get to the bank.
Yeah.
And or my bail fund, which these days you need a bail fund if you don't have one. And then just keep my emergency fund in a money market and check it every month, deposit money in it. Now what I'm doing right now is just saving as much cash as I possibly can. I imagine 2021, I used to work in financial services industry. I imagine this 2021 year is going to be a recovery year. It's going to be a hard year.
Yeah.
So I encourage everyone, as well as myself, to just save as much cash as you possibly can and be prepared for what's to come. These employers are not guaranteed. So being prepared for whatever comes. That's pretty much what I'm doing. I'm hoping to travel a little bit more, saving and doing some sinking funds for stuff nearby that's inexpensive. But other than that, just stacking.
No, you hit on so much. So I'm gonna probably break this apart piece by piece a little bit. So for people that don't understand the math or don't quite get it, she said she paid off nearly 40,000 over about a 30-month period of time. So when you think about roughly just over $1,000 a month was what you were throwing to debt at some portion, and understanding that. First, that's tough because 30 months, it sounds short after the fact. It's not short going in. So, like you said before, what was the thing that kind of took you to take that step forward? Because, like you said, you started a new job. Now you're making a little bit more money. And one of the hardest challenges is when you see that first increase and that money, and you're looking dead at it. Hey, I got $5,000 now. I'm making $5,000 a month. Whatever the case may be, now it's do or die. Now I said I was gonna do this, but now I got this money. I ain't never had this type of money before. And many people shy away. So what was the thing that kind of just pushed you over that you're like, I gotta go forward?
I see my sister go through it. So she's financially free, and I saw her do it, and she did it like this, and she's older than me. And I was like, dang, I want that type of freedom. Like when it came to trips, when it came to buying stuff, when it came to getting a bag, it was no question for her because she knew everything was taken care of.
Yeah.
So I wanted that financial freedom to say, I can buy this. I can go on this trip. I can scale my hours back at work because I don't have to work as much because I have freedom. That was like the end goal for me. And I saw friends, I saw family members who only work part-time, or their significant others didn't really have to work as hard because they had sacrificed for a short period of time so they could live like no one else now. So later they could live like no one else. And I just took that to heart. And I had a lot of people around me who were debt free and they lived a life that I wanted.
Right.
So that was my incentive. And then I kept saying, like, if I keep growing and developing, I should be making more money over time. Let me go ahead and tackle this now so I don't have to worry about it later.
Yeah, the other thing that, I mean, that's so phenomenal. The other thing that you mentioned was you were very, very focused when it came to your career. So you didn't really go about your career and how you took on jobs haphazardly. Like you stated, hey, I went to my boss. Hey, what can I do to get promoted? How soon is it? And the fact is, I think just like, oh, you gotta go to college to be successful, or oh, you can't buy a car without a car loan, or you know what I mean, just these natural ways of thinking that we've been ingrained in our society that, oh, you have to take the offer that they offer you with a job instead of saying, hey, you know what, I think I'm gonna need 5,000, 6,000 more, and this is why. Because we're supposed to. It's a sign of unappreciation if you don't take what's given to you. When actually the way it's supposed to be is, hey, these are my skill sets. This is what you need. I'm providing you a service by coming to work here. This is how much. So you were very, very focused about your career. And I mean, the biggest piece besides the debt or a budget in this whole money equation is the money. You have to bring it in more than you going out. So it's one of those things where, what would you say, or what was the thing in you that really was like, I mean, you were balls to the wall, everything. You went to your boss, you went to these side jobs. You had no, I mean, the way it's described in the language you use, you could tell you really didn't have a mindset of, I mean, I don't really care what nobody thinks. I'll do this.
Yeah, I can definitely speak on that. I'll be honest. Again, my sister, so she's older than me. She's managed people. I didn't do what I was supposed to do when I got out of college, and I should have had the conversations with my sister and my mom about, like, hey, this company offered me this. I interned in college. They offered me a job. I was making pennies, y'all. Like, I'm totally transparent. They offered me $28,000.
Yeah.
I had more student loan debt than that.
Right.
And I didn't really negotiate. I asked for more. I said, this is below, like, y'all are already paying me X amount per hour.
Mhm.
I can't accept this. And they went up, I think they went up to like 32 or 34, which is still extremely low for a college grad.
Yeah.
I took it. I wanted to be off my mom's insurance. I wanted to take care of myself, do all those things. But I wasn't making any money, and there was no way I was going to survive that way. And
Right.
I took a couple of jobs after that where it was, 38, 40-ish. I'm getting a little bit more money. But my sister pulled me aside and she was like, "Hey, what's going on with your finance? What are you doing? Before you take this job, what are you accepting? What are you not accepting?"
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Oh, I've done the market research for this job. I should be around this range. They offered this. I'm just going to accept it." She was like, "No, you never accept what they offer you the first time around, ever." She's like, "Never, ever, ever." I had to be maybe 25, 26. So I'm 5 years into my career working, and I didn't know this.
Right.
So I negotiated. I told my first boss to, like, look, after having that conversation, like, look, I feel more comfortable at this amount with what I bring in. I'd also like to negotiate how much PTO I get. At the time, they're offering 2 weeks. I feel more comfortable with 3 weeks, given the experience that I have. They knew my work ethic. They knew what I could do because I temped for them before I came on full time. So once I negotiated, and I went from, I think it was they offered me $25 an hour. I asked for 27. They gave it to me. They gave me the 3 weeks. Had I not asked, that is a lot of money that we're leaving on the table.
Yeah.
And you'll never make overtime.
You'll never catch it up.
You'll never catch up.
You won't.
And I will say, I hate not to narrow it down to race, but I will say Black women, we have to do better when it comes
to last demographic.
We are, and we have to negotiate our salaries. We cannot accept what they offer us.
Absolutely.
You just can't. So know your research, know the market data, push for yourself, be your biggest advocate,
Right.
and know that what you're making right now, you need to get in at the highest amount so that you continue to go up. Like, if not, they're going to continue to pay you pennies to do extra work. You've got to negotiate. 6 months in, whatever review time you have, look at it. Look at where you started. Start jotting it down. My boss, she taught me that. Stacy, what'd you do in the first 3 months when you were here?
Right.
All of that needs to be in your review and more.
Right.
If you made somebody smile, you put that in your review. Exactly. In addition to your job, you're going above and beyond and taking care of X, Y, and Z. You need to be compensated for it. And if you're not demanding it from your employer now, you're never going to get it.
Exactly.
You have to demand what you want. And even they're not going to say no if they want you. Just think about it. They've already invested. They've spent money to sit down and interview you. They've already gone through likely some kind of background check. They're invested somewhat in you. So you have the upper hand to say, look, you're offering me $25. I know I can make in between 25 and 28. Y'all are going to meet in the middle. If you think about it, like, say I need 27, say I need whatever.
Right.
See what they'll say. If they want you, they'll figure it out. And that's how it just jumpstarts you to prepare you for what's next. Before you know it, you're leading a team. And then after you lead the team, you're leading the department. And the department, you're VP. And we need more representation across the board. And we also, too, we have to demand more in the beginning. If not, we'll never get there.
So good. Guys, I hope you caught exactly what she said. And if you didn't, I'm going to tell you, because as somebody who hired people, as somebody who knows the hiring process, language matters in the art of negotiating when it comes to salary. I passed along an excerpt from a young girl who has a whole site about getting women to their first 100K. And her biggest thing was she was like using the phrase, to be compensated fairly. This is what I would like. Stacy just gave another great gem. Hey, you guys offer me $25,000, $30,000, whatever they offered you. I'm not exactly comfortable with that. The delivery is what sells and transitions a person in this conversation. No, I don't feel like she's offended or I don't take offense because she gave it to me in a soft sandwich to where I can easily digest. And now I can actually hear, like, okay, why am I not paying her this? What's her reasons? All right. The person you're telling ain't nothing but the messenger anyway. They're going to write down what you say. You might as well just send them an email and say, hey, this is why. And they're going to take it to X. And you're right. As somebody on the other end, if I wanted you in my head before I even hired and put an offer in, I know the back offer. I know, okay, if they're not going to take this, see the person, when I told a recruiter to hire for me, for somebody, I say, hey, well, I'm a little bit more transparent. Sometimes with certain people, I just like, hey, give them this. It's already hot. You know what I mean? Just give it to them. But on others, I'm like, no, try this. And if they don't accept that, do this. And that's it. You know what I mean? But I already have my plan B behind there. So the recruiter's not going back and forth, all that. If they're the type, oh, let me talk to such and such, it might be a situation of they hang up the phone from you and they already got the second offer right there and they just waiting to make it seem like they called the boss, which they didn't. The boss already said, hey, I'm doing this. Oh, well, I talked to such and such. You didn't talk to nobody. He told you those two numbers when you got ready to call me. And that's just fact. But women, Black women, African-American women, the numbers still haven't changed. From a demographic, from a pay scale standpoint, you're still the lowest one out of all the demographics. Latino women, Asian women, Indian men, whatever demographic you want to pick, the African-American woman gets paid below all of them. And part of that is you do have to say something. The other part is, to your point, Stacy, you have to get in and work. Like, you actually have to get in and work your job and have a plan. But having a plan about your job, you gotta have a plan about your life. You gotta have a plan about your money. Like you can't be horsing around with this stuff because the more you horse around, every day that you're not getting better at something at that job, you're losing money because you have no bandwidth to do it. And then something that we all can benefit from that we don't typically like to do unless because no one likes to have a write up. Nobody likes pen and paper, but you do have to take notes. They're not gonna remember all the stuff that you did.
Yeah.
And when you take notes about yourself, because it's conceded. I'm not telling you to take notes about your teammate or nothing. I'm talking about notes about yourself. You give somebody a year's worth of notes that you did. Hey, I did this. I helped them with this project. This is how it went. And when it comes to that review and you submit them pages, even if they didn't want to give you a raise, they gotta give you more just because you got too much evidence. But we go in with the last 3 months, just like when people review you, most people aren't diligent. Most managers and leaders aren't diligent enough where they're looking at the whole year. They look at the last 3 months. And so, oh man, you was cool these last couple months. Maybe those weren't a good months for you. And you didn't let 9 months go. And you're fighting for 3%, which might be another tank of gas a check, depending on, what you're making. But seriously, you can't do that. So it's very important. I hope you guys are picking up these actual gems because the language she used, the strategy she used, the focus she used, you have to use every last one of those keys. And that way, when you're putting your energy in, it's going somewhere, not just, hey, I showed up to work. It is what it is. Man, so good, Stacy. I mean, you're remarkable. So
thank you.
You came through, you paid off the debt, you're running your career. What was the thing over the 33 months or one or two or three things that you felt were challenges that were a struggle for you throughout the process?
FOMO, fear of missing out. At the time, all my friends were going and doing stuff. They were partying, they were going out, traveling. They were going to eat. I just couldn't do it. Thankfully, the last year, I worked for a company that would pay for a lot of stuff, and they would host a lot of events, and you could go to happy hour and do those kind of things, which was nice because it was a part of networking, and I did enjoy being around my coworkers, so I used that as a guilty pleasure. But it was paid for. What else? Going to lunch. I had a budget, or we had snacks in the office, and sometimes they'd order food, and if there were leftovers, I'd take a box home, and that was my dinner. I'd only go to the grocery store once a week, and I had a very strict budget because I knew, one, I was gonna get food at work. Two, I didn't eat all this stuff. So, learning to stay within that budget and the fear of missing out those are probably the top two. Staying within the budget, I'll be honest, it took me a little while to get the hang of. And I'll probably say that because I used to be one of those people where I got my paycheck and my paycheck was spent that Friday. So I paid my mortgage, I paid, all the utilities, I did all of that. And then the leftover money I would trick off. I say trick off because I literally would. Yeah. I would go to the mall, I would eat, I would get gas. But then after that, the next week, I was broke. So I was swiping on a credit card. And it was hard to break that habit of, hey, you can't use your credit cards the way you have. So I stopped using my credit cards altogether until I became more responsible. Now, I do use credit. I pay it off every month.
Absolutely.
I make sure that I have whatever I'm spending, I have enough cash in my account. I saw a meme the other day. It was like, if you don't have 3 times the amount of cash in your account to buy the item, you should buy it.
Right.
Ooh, that's good. I really don't need another pair of shoes. Where am I going? So it's just like thinking through those kind of things. It took some time and getting off of Instagram too. Because you really do feel like you're missing out. Like, I wish I could have gone. I wanted to do this. I want this outfit. I want that. I want a party. Like, you can't do that. Yeah. But now I can. Like, now it's nothing to include that in my budget. and not feel bad about it. So.
Yeah. And you're right. Feeling when you feel bad about it is because when you're spending, most people, oh, we went out to eat. Oh, I probably could have saved that money. Oh, if I'm getting out of debt, oh, I probably could have put that towards my debt. Oh, such and such birthday is coming up. Oh, I probably could have did that. Because you have no plan, you're just running by the seat of your pants. And money is a funny thing. You can't let your money just sit. Honestly, you can't. It will dwindle and dwindle away. Um, One thing that I think we sped past that I heard you mention probably about 3 times, you're a homeowner.
Yes.
When did you buy your home?
I bought my house in 2013. I was
Okay.
working the job that I told you about where they didn't want to offer me much.
Right.
I think I was making 34. And at the time of getting my house, they gave me a raise. And I remember being so paranoid talking to my realtor and the loan officer. I'm like, look, I just got $2,000 more. And they're like, Stacy, sit down. Like, that is chump change. Do you know what 2,000 divided by 12 is? I was like,
Yeah.
And then throw some tax on there.
Exactly.
So, and I bought my house in an area that was, I wouldn't say being revitalized, but they were encouraging new homeowners to buy homes in that area. Okay. And so I got quite a bit of money. I think I got almost 40 grand, 45 grand worth of grants and assistance. I just have to stay in the home for 10 years. Yeah. They've cut that now where it's only 5 years, but it's a great program here in Houston. So I took advantage of it, and I kept telling myself, I'm never going to make this amount. Like, this is the lowest amount that I plan on making in my lifetime. So why not go ahead and buy a house?
Right.
I had graduated. Yeah. It was within my budget. I knew I didn't want to live in an apartment after being in a condo for a year post-graduation. And I just said, let me stay with my sister. She let me stay with her for 10 months. I saved money. And I put a down payment down and I bought a house. And I've been here for 7 years. I love it. It's an investment property now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
My mortgage is just very low, and I'm extremely grateful. I recently refinanced because
absolutely.
Rates are so low. Mm-hmm. Made my money back already just from going through the refi, and I know that this is a home that I'll have for generations.
Until it buys you out to the equity is too much to you. Like, look, I gotta take it off. Then you gotta take the hit. So you bought it. You lived in it. You're onto a different property now, right?
No, I'm still in the same home.
You're still in the same property?
Yep. I want it to be an investment property.
Oh, it will be an investment property.
Yeah.
But the plan is it's going to be an investment property. You refinance. If you refinance anytime recently, you're probably somewhere in the 2s or low 2s.
Yeah.
And then with Texas, great real estate there. They're funny on their laws, but they're great real estate there. But you already know, hey, this is going to be a rental property for my next place. And by refinancing it down, you're opening yourself up for that. Hey, I don't know what rent is there, but I'm pretty sure when it does cash flow, it's going to cash flow very well coming out and speed up the timeline of passing that off to then add to your portfolio of things. And the reason why I'm going through this is because recently, over the last week and a half, I've been telling you guys in the group, there are a lot of ways to acquire real estate. Everyone doesn't go out and join an investment club and just put their money in. That's not a typical fashion of how people acquire property. I work with millionaires every day. I'm looking at their tax returns every day. 4 or 5 properties per person. A lot of them acquired it because they lived in them and they kept them. And they kept them because they financially were healthy enough where basically for a good 20, 25 year period of time, they always had 2 mortgages. And as they picked up new properties or they moved, they paid off the lowest one, used that cash, paid off the other one. So by the time you get to 50, 55, you got 6, 7 grand worth of cash flow from properties that you own, or you might have a small mortgage on one. And then the ones that they do when they're 50, 55, it might be an investment property. All of them, primary homes, are paid in full. If they got debt on something, it's probably the investment property, not their home. It is so interesting because who's going to bring you a millionaire's tax return in school and be like, hey, this is how these people bought their house? If I would have known at 18, I would have ripped a different rock. But it's important that you understand your fear or the people not buying. You can rent. I don't mind people renting, but the same fear that you have in renting, it's still there in owning. The only thing about owning is you get something back from a financial aspect, not just the ownership. Ownership is great, but at least it's growing in value. At least if it's investment property, you're getting paid on the rent. At least you're getting paid when it comes to your tax bill, which is one bill that you, as far as debts go, you have to find a way to be able to learn different rules and how to apply them to your situation to lower it down. So, I mean, if you're 27, I ain't trying to put your age all the way.
No, I'm 31.
You're 31.
Yep.
But she's already been owning. It's no reason why you shouldn't have your own property. And if that's not your thing, you have to invest in something. So, but I just think that's wonderful because you really set yourself up on a couple different ways. You can say, hey, I got a lot of equity in this thing. I'm going to go throw it to the next house. Hey, the mortgage is real small now. I'm still at 25% of my home. It might keep you in check so you don't go buy too much of a next house. And you're like, I'm running two things. I might have $300,000-$400,000 in mortgage real estate, but at least 120, 150 of that is helping me pay this stuff. Meaning I'm not working as hard to try to make all this happen because you can't do it on one income. The life that anybody wants to live, you can't do on one income. And so it's so empowering that number one, you own your home, or you own in the process of owning your own home, buying your own home, paying down the mortgage, but you put yourself in a strong position to do it. That's phenomenal. So, that's so phenomenal. I hope you got. If you haven't bought yet, please make a plan to make that part of your overall strategy. So,
Can I add to and say that was one of the hardest parts of my life, apart from getting out of debt, is saying like, I'm gonna buy a house. Mm-hmm. And I really don't care like a lot of people are like, you sure you want to do that? You're gonna do it before you get married. You're gonna do it at fresh out of college. You're gonna do it under 25. Are you sure? Like, you're gonna get a cookie cutter home? I don't care what the house looks like. Right. Location, is it close to a freeway? Right. It's Houston. It's growing. It doesn't matter where you live in Houston. Right. The closer you are to the city, the better you are. So I thought of it as an investment property. Like, this is not where I'm going to stay forever. This is a starting place. And also, too, I had to sacrifice. So that meant I couldn't go out. I couldn't party. I couldn't go travel. And I had to eat ramen noodles sometimes at night because I knew I wanted to save and I knew I wanted a down payment. I wanted to do some stuff, renovations in the house before I moved in. So I had to save up to do that. It was a sacrifice. It was 10 months, but it's so worth it in the long run. Yeah. Like, you'll think yourself and be like, I'm glad I did that. Like, if I can do it then, I know later I can do it. So I will encourage you.
Anything takes sacrifice, like you said. But another good thing that, and I just want to reiterate because I try to get people to understand, every property is an investment property. Even if you live there, it's an investment because it makes money. And you have to look at it like that. Oh, this is where we have our first child, and this is our marriage house, or whatever it is, or this is my first one. Yeah, that's great, and you'll have some nostalgia, but the fact is, the actual house is an investment, and you have to treat it as such. And I think it cut you off there, but I wanted you to go ahead and finish your thought there.
No, you're good. Also, too, you mentioned interest rates are so low. I tell everyone, buy a house now. But if you can afford, just do it. Like, I bought my house. The interest rate was 4.75. Right now it's half of that. That is just run and go.
I got people doing 1.875. I got people doing 2.25, no points. Y'all think I'm playing now? I mean, I'll show it. I'll show you. But I mean, anybody who bought a house in the last year refinanced their home, and anybody who was on the fence about buying a house, and I've had several of those people, they went out and been able to buy and pay less than they were in rent, largely, and get a better home, largely because of where interest rates are. So whatever their budget was, maybe they were doing a 30-year, they moved it to 15, they moved it to 20, some moved it to 10. But because you have to understand what this opportunity is, interest rates have never, like we talk a lot about our generation and how we got stomped, trampled over with student loans and all these different things, and jobs not paying us right, and we have to work 3-4 jobs. You're right. But as far as home ownership and us being able to stabilize our financial futures, there's never been a better financial time to do it. This, except for the housing crash in 2008, almost mirrors 2008 with opportunity of what you can do and what you can get with a house. It's so important. I'm glad you said it, because maybe my voice got too low. But please, if you haven't had a discussion about this house thing, I'm telling you, you can call. We'll talk offline about that. So talk a little bit about what are the things you're working on now. So you stay focused on your career. You obviously got business, and I know you're going to talk a little bit about your savings. But what are some of the things you're working on now?
So I am just working business-wise, continuing to build my brand. So I style and blog, trying to reach as many clients as I possibly can in the COVID virtual world. Set some goals for this year that I've already hit. So I'm grateful for that, and planning for 2021 with styling and blogging. You can find me on Instagram. It's Stacy the Survivor. I have a website, stacythesurvivor.com. Feel free to subscribe, stay in touch, send me any messages with questions that you may have on my journey or what I'm doing. Happy to answer. Savings. I have a goal for the end of the year to save $10,000. That's just a short-term goal. Mm-hmm. I know 2021 is going to be a very interesting year, so I plan to continue to save throughout that year, but I just wanted a little nest egg in addition to what I already have, being that if my employer says bye, I am prepared for that, and I can ask how much the severance is and what I have in savings and what I hustle already for. It won't be a stress. Mm-hmm. So that's really my savings goal for this year. And I actually didn't have it in the beginning of the year because I didn't think I would be out of debt until the end of 2020. Like everything that I saw, right. I didn't see it happening. But I'm grateful. COVID has been a blessing in disguise because I haven't had to travel to go to work. Right. I eat every meal pretty much here unless we go somewhere, which is rare, but it's been nice, and I've been able to really save and just stay focused. So those are kind of my two goals, future goals. Another thing with work is I'd love to get promoted by the end of the year. So working on that.
You still got 2 months.
Yeah, 2 months. My self-assessment is due in 2 weeks. So working through that, and I have some notes jotted down. Like you said, it's good to write that kind of stuff down so you're prepared. And just preparing for that in December, and hopefully I can get a nice bump and continue to save. Be ready to travel once the outside opens back up, as everyone says. So
yeah, when people are ready to come out and play. So, yeah. But phenomenal, guys. You don't quite understand. No year. Everybody starts out January with, hey, I want to save 10 grand. And I want to say 20 grand. I want to lose 20 pounds. And most people quit by February. Most goals stop at February. But the fact is, if you look at every challenge as your way out, then you'll never see the blessing on the end. I know personally speaking, I have no shame. There is a video coming about it. I worked 7 months. I coached a lot of you guys. I was able to bring resources to you guys. No one knew how I was working, what I was doing. We were fine. But the fact is, I'm training to make probably more money in this back half of the year than I did all last year. you don't know what the opportunity is. It's not going to look like what you want. You have to take what's given, adjust, and pivot nowadays is what the verbiage is, and then you move forward. But when you do that, so there are a lot of people who the pandemic hit, I lost my job, man, it stinks. Got bailed out a little bit with unemployment for 16 weeks, got 9 grand to sit and chill. That was over. Then you got to start going back to work. You should have already been looking for the next job. And quite frankly, before the pandemic hit, you probably should have been looking for your job before then, because you probably, whatever you're doing probably ain't helping you reach your goal. And if it's not helping you reach your goal, then it's time for you to take, like LeBron said, your talents to the East or Miami or wherever you plan on going. But I know during this time it's tough, and you have your plans, and COVID just kind of just put the worst type of thing on anybody's plan. But it can still be a great year. She paid off her debt. She's working towards getting a promotion. All this, the pandemic ain't stopped. She's still going. She picked up her blog. She went brought more followers. She's learning and adapting to a new platform. Many people, you have to change. And I guarantee you, yeah, 2021 might be financially, could be a little bit easier because we'll have a little bit more knowledge about the pandemic. But you're right. Just like I said, hey, this recession was coming this year. Didn't know how bad it was going to be, but I knew it was coming because it was time for it to come.
Right.
Now it's here. This recession is not going to be as bad as a past recession, but it's going to be longer. And because it's longer, you need to be more fit. But also because it's longer, you might be able to come upon an opportunity that somebody else is sitting on their couch waiting to happen because you're willing to act. So it's so important that during this time you don't let it deter you. And I'm so glad that it didn't deter you. Like you said, you didn't even know if a lot of people get out of debt, you project, but you really don't know when it's going end. Even when you're trying to save, you're like, man, I think I can save in about 4 or 5 months. But you don't know what's going to happen every month because you might get a bonus, you might get a raise, you might get a return on something that you overspent. You don't know what's going to happen, but it does, if you're consistent and you're budgeting, it does work out. So one of the things we like to do, Stacey, you've been awesome. But one of the things I like to do, well, before I go into that, what's the blog about?
So my blog, I talk about fashion, everything from fashion to finance. So my core values: faith, fashion, finance, food, fun, travel. That's all on the blog. So I just kind of share tips on things that I've learned. I share a lot of fashion and affordable fashion, things that I actually personally love and that I value, that will help me grow as a human. I try to think about things that I know can help people like me who are thinking like, how do I grow? How do I learn? How do I milk my employer? Because at the end of the day, that's why we go to work, to make money and to learn and grow, to do our own personal hustles. So just guidance there, and mostly fashion and some finance tips.
No, that's good. So one of the things I like to do before we fully kind of shut off, I always like for the guests to kind of share some words of encouragement from for that person who, like you said, they might be trying to shift their career, or they might be on their debt journey, or they might be kind of sitting back about to start their debt journey, wherever that may be. But things that you know that you've learned, and let that be of encouragement to them. How would you encourage that person or couple or what have you today?
Just start wherever you are. Don't be afraid to start. That's the hardest part. The hardest part was not getting out of debt. The hardest part was saving the $1,000 emergency fund. It was hard because I had to make a change. I had to pivot and say, okay, I can't continue to have these same financial habits. I have to do something differently. And it won't be easy. But once you do it, once you hit that first baby step, if you follow FPU, Financial Peace University, the rest, you'll feel better, you'll sleep better, you'll have peace of mind. Just start wherever you are, and try not to make too many excuses like your situation, your job, COVID, 2020. We all know that's real. But we've got to, that's where we have to dig in on our inside and say, you know what? I want this change for myself. I want this change for the generation after me. Whatever it may be, whatever your situation may be, just start. And after that, once you start, things will start falling in line. People will start showing up to help you and support you. Money will start coming in. You'll go to the mailbox and there'll be money. Like you said, overages. You didn't realize you paid too much.
You didn't even know.
Yes. Just start and stay committed to it. And even if you say, okay, this month, I'm going to save $500 each month. Well, it may not be $500 every month, but it may be $400 or maybe $350, or an emergency may come up and you might not hit that every single month, but at least give yourself somewhere to start. And once you start tackling the 500, you'll easily figure out a way to double it.
Right.
And then it'll be 1,000, and then it'll be 15 or 2,500, whatever it may be. Just start.
So good, guys. And like I said, she's been a blessing. I mean, we talked about getting out of debt. She even dropped some gems on home ownership and told you to get up out your seat and go buy a house tomorrow. So if there's some left in Texas, it's pretty slick down there. Like as soon as it go on the market, 2-3 days, it's gone. So, but no, nothing she said is anything different than what I've seen, what I've heard, what I've even said. To be honest, you have to be serious about your life and change. And what we're talking about, you're right. I wish I could give you a clear picture of how I feel about a way I live my life and these people who are becoming financially free. I wish I could do that to you. But you have to trust. If you're going to trust something, I'm asking you to trust this. It will be the best decision financially you can do for yourself. Because knowing that when you go into work, you can't control whether or not they're going to cut back. You can't control whether or not they're going to let you go. You can't control whether or not your manager's not going to like you anymore and want to let you go. You can control how what they do affects you. And by getting your own situation stable, the conversation changes when, hey, I don't know if this is going to work. You're right. I'm gone. So I'll go and do something else because you go off and do it. Or maybe you want to stop and go on a business venture. It's not saying that whatever you're doing, you have to do for the rest of your life. It's saying that, hey, all this money does for me is give me options so that I can pick what I want to do. Right now, when's the last time you picked anything for yourself? Like seriously, with no qualms. So I definitely want to encourage you guys. If you haven't already, I appreciate you joining, watching, commenting. Like people love having you on, Stacy. I appreciate you coming in. And I forgot. I'm gonna tell you when we go offline, but my friend Rachel just launched her Jesus Talk journal. We're gonna get one of those sent to you. I just wanted to encourage you on your journey. Maybe you can write about COVID, something you'll look back years later. But just want to bless you with a token there. But guys, if you haven't already, join the Money Talks group, like, subscribe if you're on YouTube, and we'll see you guys next week.
Thank you for having me, Jonathan. I really appreciate it.
No, it's my pleasure.
All right.